Is the future really unknown? I will say yes for most of us. But there are a few in history that not only bear the gift of seeing, but also the gift of sharing. Nostradamus left 943 quatrains with vivid descriptions of many future events, while his Chinese counterpart Wan Tiangang wrote Tui Bei Tu in the 7th century. You may know Nostradamus but never heard about Tui Bei Tu. Tui Bei Tu is a collection of 60 poem-like quatrains. Each one starts with 4 lines as a short poem, followed by 4 lines of a longer explanation poem, and then a picture. It has followed a strict timeline for the last 1300 years, and it did not miss any dynasty changes or major wars. Believe it or not, I found a quatrain in Nostradamus' Book of Prophecy that predicted the same event as Tui Bei Tu, which I will include in this video. It is interesting to see how the two prophets, 900 years apart in age, and growing up at different corners of the earth, could see the same future event and describe those events with similar choice of words, and how both of them share the same doomsday vision. One reason that Nostradamus' quatrains are open to different interpretations is its lack of time sequence. Unlike the famous Chinese prophecy Tui Bei Tu from the 7th century, Hua Tiangang made the prediction based on I Ching. It correctly predicted all major wars and dynasty changes in China for the past 1300 years in just 38 quatrains. To make it easier to understand, each quatrain came with a picture. These parts of the poems illustrate the modern Chinese history from World War II, as it is the bridge from the known past to the unknown future. And I believe I have, for the first time, decoded the true meaning about the 21st century quatrains. Like number 39 is about Japan's 1931 invasion of China. Number 40 is about 1949 Chinese Civil War. Number 41 show the forming of Red China. Number 42 is about the Taiwanese government. Once you decode a quatrain, you know what's coming next. I will not bore you with 1300 years of Chinese history, but I have to share with you the first 2 poems. The main poem states, quote, "What's the end of the vast universe? Life circles like the rise of sun and moon again and again." The explanation poem reads, "Ever since the beginning of time, oddly, fighting never stops. With the understanding of the circle of life, try to understand the secret after the dynasty." The picture is 2 overlapping circles. White as the moon, red as the sun. This poem cannot be explained, but also it needs no explanation. Tui Bei Tu is simple and straightforward. Let me show you the number 2, which is about the Tang dynasty. It shows a plate with 21 fruits on the top, with a poem saying, "Do you know how many plums there are? One fruit for one, with the new one comes after the old one is gone." There were 21 emperors in the Tang dynasty. The last name for emperors in the Tang dynasty is Li, Chinese name for plums. There's only one female emperor in China. She was the 4th one in the Tang dynasty, while the 4th one from the top in the picture has no stock. Isn't that amazing? Fast forward to number 39, the poem reads as, quote, "Bird with no legs, mountain with a moon. When the sun rises, everyone cries." Everyone knows the sun represents Japan. Its World War II invasion cost 6 million Chinese lives. That's why everyone cried. As for the bird, this is the Chinese symbol of the bird. And this is the symbol for a mountain. When you take out the legs in this bird symbol and replace it with the mountain symbol, you get a new word. This word means island. This is a clear warning that an island country called Japan would launch an attack to China. I also found 2 quatrains Nostradamus wrote about Japan's World War II crimes, like Pearl Harbor in Quatrain 130 and Quatrain 137, the surrender at Quatrain 138, and the invasion of Asia at Quatrain 360. Please note that Quatrain 130's mention about foreign ship approach the unknown port. Foreign ship is no doubt the Japanese carriers. While Nostradamus probably can't pronounce the Hawaiian name of Pearl Harbor, but he added the palm branches in line 2, so we can know where it is. And the last line is to warn us that the USA failed to detect the attack till it was too late. Quatrain 137 is even more interesting. Line 1 states, battle is engaged before sun set. Line 2 states, a great nation is uncertain. Sun actually means Japan, while set means ready. Japan's Pearl Harbor victory led to its downfall, which they were not ready for. And of course, attack without warning left the USA unprepared, and that is what the great nation is uncertain means. Tui Bei Tu did not mention Pearl Harbor attack, as his prophecies are about China. But Nostradamus' Quatrain 360 did mention, quote, throughout all Asia, great prescription on line 1. While line 2 mentioned Misya is definitely about Malaysia, Lycia can be Indonesia, and Pamphylia is Philippines. Nostradamus used blood shed, while Tui Bei Tu called the war, quote, when sun rise, everyone cries. Basically, it is the same. Like Nostradamus, Wan Tiangong hid names and clues in poems that are often not understood till after the events happen. Just like Nostradamus' book of prophecy, there are thousands of translations, although I don't believe there is a comprehensive one in English. Why don't you take a look and see if you agree with my interpretation? I will start with the part about modern-day Chinese history. In Quatrain 132, we read, quote, the great empire will soon be exchanged for a small place which soon will begin to grow. A small place of tiny area, in the middle of which will come to lay down his scepter. Think about it this way, although Napoleon was exiled to the 2 small islands, neither Elba nor St. Helena had ever grown. So what is this quatrain about? This quatrain is about the Republic of China, commonly known as Taiwan. Prior to 1949, the Republic of China, led by KMT and Chiang Kai-shek, is the most populous country in the world and a member of the powerful United Nations Security Council. After 1949, and after being defeated by the Communist Chinese, the Republic of China government moved to Taiwan, which is a very small place in a tiny area. However, Taiwan's economy took off in 1950. The growth did not stop for the next 50-plus years. And although it lost control of the mainland, the ROC government never conceded defeat and still claims to be the only legitimate Chinese authority, which is Nostradamus' quote of scepter. Didn't Nostradamus have this one right on? Since that quatrain is about Taiwan, the Republic of China, let's compare what was said with Tui Bei Tu. Number 40 poem in Tui Bei Tu, it is translated as follows. 1, 2, 3, 4. The master governs hardly any land. A small government ruled with growth and prosperity. Taiwan's president in 1949, Chiang Kai-shek, was the leader of China during and after World War II. He lost China to the communists but ruled Taiwan with vision. He was re-elected as president 4 times till his death in 1975, kind of in line with the 1, 2, 3, 4 quote. While Taiwan's economy grew, the people granted equal education rights and freedom never before seen. My next task is to see if the poem after number 40 correctly describes what happened after the Chinese Civil War. Number 41 is commonly accepted as being about Hong Kong. Not only the word Hong was an answer to the word riddle in the 4-line poem, the 4 additional explanation quotes mention 99 years, which is the term of the lease for Hong Kong. Please note the picture showing a soldier stepping on a ball. Many people figure this poem is about Hong Kong because of the 99-year mention in the explanation poem, but no one knows what the picture means. I was confused at first, and then it came strikingly clear. Hong Kong is called the Pearl of the Orient, and that is what the soldier is stepping on. It is not a ball, but the pearl, as the soldier is the force and pressure put upon Hong Kong. Then number 42 is definitely about the current Taiwanese government. The poem stated, "A pretty lady came from the west, brought peace to the once chaotic government. Weapons on the ground will be fine, although standing on dangerous ground." Could the pretty lady be Taiwan's first elected female president, Tsai Ing-wen? She got her master's degree from Cornell University and her PhD in the UK. She spent years overseas and passed the bar exams in both United States and Taiwan. Interesting. But what's really interesting is her name, Ing-wen. In Chinese, it means English. The first several months of her administration were filled with trouble, but this poem seems to indicate that it will be fine. And the meaning of the picture in poem 42 also made great sense when I looked at it again. The lady holding the instrument stood between a bow and a rabbit. It means the current female president will choose war or peace, which is represented by the bow and the rabbit, while the instrument is the string instrument like a violin. And do you know what it means to say, "Play me like a violin"? According to answers.yahoo.com, it means one party in the relationship is taking advantage of the other, to manipulate them or trick them. That explains why the poem said, "dangerous ground." However, since the poem stated "survive through danger," it is more than likely that Taiwan will be fine. The next is poem 43, which seems to show the relationship with the two Chinas. The picture shows a big one walking next to a small one, just like China and Taiwan. The poem reads, "The reign holds no sovereign. The administration can't administrate." Starting with difficult challenges, but ending with eventual peace. Number 43's poem seems to indicate some kind of compromise between China and Taiwan. But in the picture, please note both the bigger and the smaller person raise one arm. I think it means some compromise on the terms. Raising both hands means surrender, which that is not the case here. The unification term is more like meeting halfway. At least, that is what it seems like to me. The next poem seems to show the rise of a new China. The first four lines can be translated as, "With the glorious sun and moon, darkness fades away. Birds fly to see the great, two wings with four legs." The literal translation, the explanation poem, and the picture all seem to show China's domination of the world stage. However, this can happen 100 years from now or 500 years from now. How do we know when this will happen? I think this is about now, as the name of the Chinese leader Xi Jinping is encoded in this poem. The two wings mentioned is the Chinese symbol of feather. It is the top part of the Chinese last name, Xi. Xi is an extremely rare last name. It is not even listed in the top 100 most common Chinese last names, which account for 84.77% of all Chinese population, while the name of his wife and his daughter are included in the first three characters of the poem. This can't be just coincidence. This must be his way to confirm with us the timeline. The picture in poem 44 reveals something unexpected. We are quite sure this is about China under leader Xi Jinping, and the poem shows China's dominance over other countries. However, I think everyone failed to notice something alarming. The one reporting to the one sitting carries a bow with him. This means hostile intent or potential conflicts. And let's take another look at the quote, 2 wings, 4 legs. We know the 2 wings is the word riddle for Xi, the last name of the Chinese leader. How about the 4 legs? Even if you don't know Chinese, it is easy to see the 4 legs under the Taiwan president's first name. Why do we need to dig so deeply into the Tui Bei Tu? Because it gives us a clear picture of the timeline. With number 43 and number 44 both being about events now, we can say with certainty that number 45 will happen next. Well, I hate to tell you, but number 46 is the start of the Doomsday Prophecy. The picture in number 45 shows 2 soldiers pointing weapons towards the sun. The poem reads, quote, "The guest from the west will stop at the east. The shame is washed away with wood, fire, gold, and water." The explanation poem reads, "The whole world gets together to face this fiery change. The sun is hidden in the ocean. The time for the sun is gone. No more the military threat feared. Its end finally came." This can either mean the world unites together to fight an alien force, or the country of Japan loses the next fight and was basically eliminated from the world stage. Don't forget, this is right after the period identified as now in number 44. So this can happen sooner than you think. The number 45 poem is the beginning of the Doomsday Prophecy. Let me first translate this to English for you. Quote, "Surrounded by darkest haze, death is no longer by knife. 10,000 people not dead, 1 person won't survive." This one sounds fine at first, but wait till I tell you what it really means. Now, let's look at Nostradamus's Quatrain, Quatrain 392, quote, "The world near the last period. Saturn will come back again late. Empire transferred towards the dusky nation. The eye plucked out by the Goshawk at Nabon." Doesn't the dusky nation sound like the darkest haze? And the quote of the world near the last period makes this a clear doomsday prediction. Poem 47 shows a bookshelf filled with books. This may still be about China after the possible integration of Taiwan. Let's see. Leave fighting behind and focus on pursuing of knowledge. Legostromia star is brighter than ever. It is everyone's duty to cast their voice for the leader. The explanation poem reads, "No more king to rule, the first field person will lead. Learn more from history books. Wisdom is shown through great advice." Several people feel this poem indicates the first time China has a presidential election. But I want to share something I noticed with you. The name of Taiwan's president, Tsai Ing-wen, is hidden in this poem. Could this lead to a different explanation on number 46 and 47? I thought number 46 started the Doomsday Prophecy, but after decoding number 47, I began to have doubts. The last 2 lines said, 10,000 won't die, but 1 failed to escape. This sounds more like an assassination. It may not be carried out with a knife, which was mentioned, as the explanation poem reads, "A soldier with weapon calling himself White Head Old Man. With gold sword hidden inside the gate, the brave one entered palace through back door." Doesn't that sound like an assassination plot? But who will that be? It could be the Chinese president, as the next poem possibly points to an election. It can also mean the president of Taiwan, who probably had a lot of resentment from all parties. And her name was mentioned in the next poem. But the hidden surprise is the call of white hair old man. Could this have anything to do with the blonde elect in Nostradamus's Quatrain 139? I have to say number 47 sounded like a direct presidential election. But could this happen because the leader was assassinated? Or could this be the term requested by President Tsai of Taiwan as term of the unification? Please note that her name was hidden in the last part, calling wisdom is shown through great advice. Number 48 poem is about fighting between a flying dragon and a snake. It is really hard to decode, as many of the words seem to be a word riddle about names. However, I will give you the literal translation and let your imagination fill in the blanks. Between the year of the rabbit and the horse, that means 2023 and 2026, strange things happen one after another. 8 bulls on the move could be referring to someone named Chu, balance, and prosperity. The explanation poem states, balance of fire and water will bring good life to people, holding the arms but won't use against the rebels. A great leader for the last 50 years, grass growing on rice fields. I have a few out-of-the-box thoughts to share. Could the 8 bulls mean a big run on the stock market? Could the grass in the field indicate agricultural problems? Could the snake on the ground fighting with the dragon from the sky mean fighting with alien forces? Sorry that I'm giving you more questions than answers, but I need your help to solve this interesting poem. Poem 49 shows a picture of 8 wide swords. The poem reads, few people in the valley, they lost their home when forced out. Kings called each other brothers. Everyone is a hero. The explanation poem reads as, one or more crying from inside, separated to south, north, east, and west. Wishing and praying can't help see through civilization. Sun and moon are still there when others are scattered. My bold guess on this picture is that weapons are now back to primitive forms while people are scattered around. Anyone who has survived till this day can be called heroes, and the leaders are like brothers. Poem 50 shows a tiger on the grass. The poem reads, water fight with fire. When time is bad, new solutions came. Principles aside, animal worth more than human. The explanation poem reads as, tiger head human in tiger head year. Warehouse full of rice is worthless. Wolf walk street in packs. You can only see the sky when all clouds are out. This painted a picture of a horrible past doomsday life, with animal worth more than human. Gangsters walking in street, taking whatever they want. No matter how much money you may have or food you have stored, it is worthless because someone may just take it from you. I want you to now take a look at this Nostradamus quatrain. Quatrain 275, quote, on the pipe of the air vent floor, so high will the bushel of wheat rise, that man will be eating this fellow man. Doesn't the quote of man eat man sound like animal worth more than human? Also, Tui Bei Tu mentioned in poem 48, translated as grass growing on the field. Compare that with the quatrains, so high will bushel of wheat rise. Clearly, these two prophets warn us about the same thing. Poem 51 seems to show things turn for the better. It is saying with the balance of yin and yang, things turn for the better. A lady with virtues will help the great leader. Like I said before, it is very hard to guess what will happen based on the quatrains. But after the horrible poem described before, I guess it means any leader who can restore order can be a great leader. Number 52 is very intriguing. It translates as comet suddenly appears. Northeast is under threat. How can you do when you walk slow? Can you see the paradise country far away? The explanation poem reads as, "The shoot showed up a bit in the east. Leader survived in the southeast. The guest pass outside the door only for a short while. The earth will be rebuilt with angle up. We all know a deep impact is long overdue. Does this poem show the impact, sight, and effects?" Well, the last part of the explanation poem actually points to a pole shift, and the mention of a comet really is no small matter. In Nostradamus' Doomsday Quatrain, he also talked about a comet. In the same quatrain, he mentioned Mabus, the so-called Antichrist. Quatrain 262, quote, "Mabus then will soon die. There will come of people and beast a horrible rout. Then suddenly one will see vengeance. 100 hand thirst, hunger when the comet will run." I never understood why Mabus may be the next Antichrist, but the mention of his name can still be an interesting factor. Out of the 942 quatrains, this is the only one talked about a comet, and it also talks about thirst and hunger when the comet comes. This must not be a regular comet. A regular comet will not cause hunger and thirst, and a regular comet will not show up suddenly. Is this the legendary Nibiru, which is supposed to arrive any day now? In Quatrain 241, a doomsday quatrain in the doomsday century, it reads, "The great star will burn for 7 days. The cloud will cause 2 suns to appear. The big mastiff will howl all night, when the great pontiff will change country." Can you call a bright comet a burning star? Maybe these 2 quatrains are talking about the same comet. This one also mentions 2 suns. Could it be the sign of the end of the Catholic religion? The great pontiff, which is another name for the Pope. Bishop Malachi predicted names of all the popes since the 11th century, up to the last Pope Benedict. Many believe that Rome will be destroyed when the Catholic system collapses. Nostradamus' quatrain sure seemed to indicate that. Could this be the reason for the Pope to move? How about the rest of us? And is this the same event as portrayed in poem 52? Poem number 53 shows 3 people talking. It states, "The great leader will be very supportive. He follows the divine rules and will get a son at an old age." The explanation poem reads, "A great son coming from the west. He will be in control of the nation and bring peace. Twice a beautiful flag appears. The young one is better than the old one." The one thing I would like to point out is the cracked ground the 3 parties are standing on. I am sure it is of significance, but just don't know much at this time. Number 54 poem is a group of 5 children waving a weapon with a bull. The poem reads, "Upright, marching on the residual chess, taking breath with temporary shelter, crying inside even with smile on face." The explanation poem, "Whether you are a mouse or bull or cow and sheep, do you still feel stronger after all your hairs are cut? The real dragon will appear to the universe. The yellow river will run clear." This seems to show the life for people surviving the doomsday. You may be getting a break, but life is no longer with comfort, and you have to face the changing world. The bull was mentioned twice and also in the picture. Is this a sign that life will roll back 1,000 years to the time when food is produced with a bull in hand? Are the kids the images of people surviving with limited skills and tools? Either way, it's not pretty. The picture in poem 55 is a man picking a unique tree. It looks like a mangrove tree. the type that grows a baby tree from the branches and is only found near the water. The poem reads, "Fear cause strain. Don't go when not too far. There's a lady near water, pray to the sun and herself." The explanation poem reads, "Covet the sacred artifact is useless. Be careful, there are administrators watching. Integrity may stabilize a dangerous situation. Don't accuse me for losing the territories." Another hard to comprehend poem, but things are changing after the global disaster. With possible floods all over, maybe the only tree still left is the mangrove tree. And maybe survival depends on some kind of generator which may be considered a sacred artifact. We should look at one of Nostradamus's quatrains to see if it offers additional explanations to this mysterious poem 55. Quatrain 1:17, quote, "For 40 years the rainbow will not be seen. For 40 years it will be seen every day. The dry earth will grow more parched, and there will be great floods when it is seen." We don't know what will destroy humanity, the drought or the flood. But changes will happen, and it is best that we prepare for it. Number 56 picture shows two soldiers facing each other with fire coming from their mouth. There are two birds flying in the sky and fish swimming in the water behind them. But the poem points to the opposite. The flying ones are not birders. The swimming ones are not fish. War are no longer fought by soldiers. It's only a game. And the explanation poem reads, "The tens of thousands of miles of coastline are all hidden in the mist. It goes up to the sky and down to the ocean. Mirage of the gold mother and wood father are not real. Disasters will not stop even when war is in truce." I think it shows the future disasters make the world unrecognizable to people like us. Even when people are no longer fighting each other, they have to fight nature to survive. If this is hard to imagine, think of the Hunger Games. Like you will be fighting a virtual enemy, and everything around you is no longer real. Pretty scary, right? Number 57's picture is a young kid pouring water over fire. And the poem reads, "History showed bouncing from one extreme to another. The way to overcome the poison is with worse poison. A little one may be the one that overcomes the barbaric." The picture number 58 shows two shorter people coming to two bigger people. I think the height difference is to show the dominant country and the subordinating countries. The poem reads as, quote, "Calm after disasters, the foreigners now take commands. The 6 to 7 countries are calling each other as brothers." While the explanation poem points to a problem in the Northwest. Fight is over and the sea is calm again, countries unified under one sovereign. The only problem is hidden in the Northeast. Number 59 poem shows a peaceful world when differences are no longer the cause of conflicts. Number 60 brings the end of the 60 poems. It shows the author pushing his friend to stop writing. As they work together on this book, he says, "Yin and yang has not beginning and no end. The end ends with the begin start on its own. Instead of me sharing with you what divine has set the path for, why don't I just walk away and leave everything to run its course?" I know I could not answer what you want to know most, the future. Because even with the best effort, the future is still a mystery. Based on Tui Bei Tu's track record, we can say that although there are threats to end humanity through wars, space rocks, floods, and earthquakes, some part of the world are spared and eventually will survive. I translated this Chinese prophecy for you, so you can possibly decode the future and share with us all. This is Ken Peters. Thank you for watching.